Grr, arg.
Candyman, 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 Candyman.
Hello, and welcome to the Mixtape Podcast, where we review movies from a screenwriter's perspective. Can you guess what movie we're doing? Oh, you did, because you clicked on it. So, we're doing Candyman, 1992, not the remake. I don't want to ever talk about the remake ever. This movie did not need a remake. The original was stellar, Tony Todd, amazing, written and directed by Bernard Rose, based on the story The Forbidden by Clive Barker. I will be your host. My name is Dean, and I am joined as always by my co-host, Marcelo. So, if you don't know what the Candyman is about, here it is. The Candyman, a murderous soul with a hook for a hand, is accidentally summoned to reality by a skeptic grad student researching the monster's myth. All right. So the opening scene is dialogue. It's dialogue by the Candyman himself, and there's like bees everywhere. And he says, "They will say that I have shed innocent blood. But what's blood for if not for shedding? With my hook for a hand, I will split you from your groin to your gullet. I came for you." So I think the writing is so great in this movie because you really get a sense of, it throws you into it. This is a horror movie. The Candyman is not messing around. Like, if he comes out, you're pretty much going to die. Like, it just sets the whole tone for the movie. So next we're introduced to Helen, which is our protagonist. And she's listening. She's sitting down opposite what we will learn is a freshman student at a university. And she's listening to a story that they are recounting about Candyman, who swears that they know someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows someone that knows about Candyman, or that has seen Candyman, that has conjured him, all of that, because that's what people say. I heard it from a friend of mine. And she says, if you say Candyman 5 times in a mirror, he will appear and kill you. Beautiful setup. Because what the writer and director has done, Bernard Rose, is within the first 2 minutes of the movie, he's set up who Candyman is by the dialogue, by the voiceover that you heard, or that you heard me say. He's introduced our protagonist. He's introduced the story about Candyman, and he's introduced what you have to do in order to conjure him. So I just think it's a brilliant setup. What did you think about the opening scene?
First of all, before I get to that, I have a problem with this movie right from the start.
Oh shit!
I just
Tell us.
And it's an editorial problem with the editing. I absolutely hated the opening credits to the beginning of this movie because the music is stellar, but the image of the highway going from right to left made no fucking sense whatsoever. I don't understand why they didn't run the opening credits of this movie over black with the same score, and then once you finish the credits, cut to the voiceover by Candyman, and then go to the bees, and then go to Helen. The opening of this film pissed me off so fucking much.
Wait, it pissed you off?
Yeah,
because of the highway shot?
Because it was so fucking, it felt so out of place. The music was awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
it just felt out of place. I was like, what the fuck is this?
But they were trying to show you, like, this is where we are. Like, the establishing shot was like, we're in Chicago. Like, this is where we are.
But they showed the fucking highway for fucking who knows how long.
Well, that's true. I can't back up what I'm saying. I don't know why they did that. I don't know.
If you want to fucking show Chicago, you could have placed that creepy music over the credits and go through the slums of Chicago, or the ghetto of Chicago, or show images of the places that Helen is going to go through once the movie starts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah. I don't know. I can't help you with that. I have no idea.
Besides that point, I couldn't agree with you more that the screenplay writer did a very, very economical thing by telling us how to summon Candyman. He set up the main premise of what Helen and her friends are trying to achieve for most of this episode. And I just love the scene of of the house that the girl is in, because that house reminds me of the house that of Michael Myers' house for some reason. And I just love the opening sequence as the narrator, which turns out to be the college student that Helen is speaking to, tells us a story, and then when you see the boyfriend sitting downstairs, the camera pans up and you see blood coming down from the ceiling. I thought that was great. The last thing I want to say that I love about this movie, and it's really consequential, but it's a thing with me. I love that women smoke in this movie.
I knew it. As soon as she had a cigarette in her mouth, I was like, my son's going to fucking die over this. He's going to love it. Do you know what they have now? Do you know what all the snowflakes... Oh my God, I cannot believe I'm living in a world. I cannot believe I'm living in a world where if anybody smokes in a movie, there's actually a fucking disclaimer at the beginning of the movie saying tobacco depiction appears in this movie. And I'm like, what the is going on? So stupid. I can't believe it, actually, that they do that. Oh my God. Have you noticed that?
Yes, I have.
So
which doesn't make sense, but I absolutely love after the Candyman's voiceover is done, they do a tight shot on Helen's face and she's smoking. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Yeah.
But other than the opening credits that I thought were misplaced and didn't make fucking sense, I love the opening of this film from a screenplay writer's perspective.
Now we're at the University of Illinois, Chicago, and we're in a professor's class, and he's teaching a class, and afterwards Helen comes in, our protagonist, and she's married to the professor. Now, I don't know that this storyline was needed. I mean, I don't know. What do you think? I don't feel like it brought anything to the story, like her being married to a douchebag. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I think it was needed in that what happens to our main character throughout the movie, and of course the end. No spoilers, but if you didn't lay the groundwork of her husband being a fucking a-hole, then what happens later possibly may not have worked that well for the audience. Yeah,
I just I don't know. I was like, oh, you don't need to, you can do something else. I don't know. I felt like there could have been something else put in there, but anyway. He's giving a lecture on urban legend. Now, she tells him, I told you to wait to give the lecture because she's collecting data from freshmen on urban legends to assist him with his class. Kind of, she wants to gather real stories rather than just, here's a book, read it. She wants to talk to people who have actually experienced urban legends, which, is fun. And now you know kind of what she's into, so you learn a bit more about her character, and that kind of propels it forward. Because if this wasn't set up that she was collecting data on urban legends, then the whole Candyman movie kind of falls apart. It doesn't work because it's like, well, when she conjures him, it's like, well, where does that come from? But it comes from a desire to learn more and to want to know more. And so thus the Candyman kind of story kicks off. So, thoughts?
It really bothered me that Helen was so bothered by him teaching using his semester of college to teach in urban legends, to teach his view on urban legends. What does him teaching urban legends have to do with her doing her thesis paper? That to me was more aimed at the fact that she suspects that he's involved with one of his students. So I was like, that her kind of reaction didn't play well with me, and her kind of reaction was more about her husband's possible affair with one of her students than her actually being mad about him teaching urban legends.
Yeah. So moving on, Helen is in a classroom alone, and she's listening back to her recording of the Candyman story when a cleaner enters the room, and she hears the recording, and she says, hey, my friend has a story about the Candyman. So she summons her friend into the room, and her friend says she knows a woman who kept hearing noises in her walls in her apartment. And she called the cops numerous times, and the cops, they kind of dismissed it. They're like, yeah, okay, you're hearing, rats, whatever it is. They did nothing. Then later on, they found her dead body slit with a hook in a bathtub. So, and she also said it was even in the newspapers, which is a key element of dialogue, because her saying it was in the papers propels Helen to do my favorite thing a protagonist does in a movie, which we will get to. But again, awesome scene, moves the story forward. You get to hear more about the Candyman, and this is what propels Helen into the direction that she now takes, and we're going to take with her.
Yeah, the one thing that I really like about the story, every scene at least does one or two things to propel the legend of the Candyman. Everything is focused on that and what Helen wants to achieve with that. In this scene in the classroom, with the maid telling her what she believe, what her belief on the Candyman is, only propels that, and I really, really enjoyed that.
And like I said, Helen is now doing what all protagonists should do, and what good writers make the protagonist do: research. She's at the library and she's trying to find the article that this woman has said. She's found it. She goes, oh shit, I found, well, she doesn't say it. I said, oh shit, she's found it. Old newspaper article from years ago about the woman who died by the hook. And Helen is back at her apartment, and she's talking to her friend Bernadette. And she tells her friend she found the apartment complex that the woman died in. And she says something interesting. She said the woman was hearing noises from inside her wall. And she was saying that the complex she lives in now is a similar build. And she even goes to the bathroom. She takes the mirror off the bathroom wall and she pushes, and you can go into the next apartment. And I'm like, oh, that's creepy. But that's what happened in the other complex. She wasn't hearing noises through the wall. She was hearing noises from the next apartment, but the person came in from via the bathroom mirror and killed her, and that's how they kind of escaped. So her and her friend, because she's researching urban legends, but she doesn't really believe in it, she just thinks it's a bit of fun. Her and her friend Bernadette, they go to the bathroom and they say Candyman 5 times as a joke. But let me tell you, folks, it's not a joke. It's no joke. And can I tell you, when I saw this movie when I was younger, I could not go into a bathroom. If I went into the bathroom, I had to cover the mirror. I was so scared, even though to conjure Candyman, you have to say his name 5 times, which there was no way I was ever going to do as a kid. But it's like the Jaws effect when people wouldn't go back in the water because they saw Jaws. It's the Candyman effect is the fucking bathroom mirror effect for me. I just was like, I'm not looking in the mirror. He's going to be there. He's going to kill me. That's it. But anyway, I just digressed into a past trauma of mine. But what did you think? Again, it sets it up because now she said Candyman 5 times. So now the movie propels forward even more. So what did you think?
Also, I really love from a script perspective how the writer builds up to that and how Helen goes over the history of the slums and the buildings and how her building was built on top of some other landfills. And she goes into this whole thing, and then they go into the bathroom and do the mirror thing. And I really thought that that's something that the writer didn't have to do, but I really appreciate that he built up to that amazing scene where Helen and Bernadette do the Candyman, Candyman, Candyman thing. And it's just great. Also, I do want to just say that you were scared of saying Candyman in the mirror 5 times when you were a kid. I was terrified. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I am not doing that shit ever once in my life. And to this day, I've only done it once in my life, and I've only done it 3 times in the mirror.
I won't even do it now as a fucking adult. I won't even do it. So that's it. That's what this fucking movie did to me. So anyway, let's move on. Helen wants to dig deeper. So her and Bernadette decide to go to the apartment complex that the woman died in the bathtub. She wants to do deeper research. And it's called Cabrini Green. And And it's not just because of that. It's because there are multiple stories of Candyman told by the residents. That Candyman is there and he haunts that building and all that shit. The problem is the building is in the projects and she's white. So we'll see how this goes. But her friend Bernadette is black, but even she's scared. And if she's scared, if that was me and Bernadette was my friend and even she was shit scared to go to the projects, I wouldn't even go. But what I like about Helen, she doesn't care. She's like, I'm going to go. She will go into the most dangerous neighborhoods and go, I need to do this. She's not scared, which, to her detriment, yes, but I like the fact that she's ballsy. She's got balls. She's not scared of anything. She's just like, fuck this, I'm going to do it. So before we get into what they encounter in the building, what did you think about just that short scene about them deciding to go there and all that?
I really thought that was ballsy on Helen's part, but look, Helen as a character so far in this movie has been basically all balls to the wall, and I'm going to get what I want. But with that being said, I really didn't. The one thing that I really wish I would have seen is I really wish that the writer would have shown a couple scenes of them actually working on the research paper that they were planning to write. The fact that they kept talking about doing this research paper and having to hand it in at a specific amount of time, I thought it would be really cool as an audience member to see them working on the paper for a couple scenes. That would be really, really cool. But also, I feel that Bernadette is a high class black person.
She is.
She's not a black person of the projects.
No, she's
so
not.
That's why when they're in the car and they're driving to the projects, Helen has all that shit in her bag, like the mace and all the shit. And I even like the line where she says, "Why the hell did you make us dress up like cops? We look like cops."
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, like if Bernadette was my friend and even she was scared and she's like, no, don't do this, I would be like, okay, I ain't doing it. So anyway, they get to the project, they get to Cabrini Green, they get out of the car and they make their way into the building and immediately they get heckled by the residents who are hanging out outside. But they think they're cops. So they kind of leave them alone because they're really not sure about them, which is, it was good thinking by the writer. Because it's like, well, why wouldn't they follow them into the building? Oh, they think they're cops, which is good because we don't need, any more scenes of them heckling the characters because it doesn't push the story forward. So Helen is searching for where the woman died. They find the room, which is fucking looks like something out of a horror game. Like it's gross. There's mold everywhere. There's black mold. Like it's just disgusting. It's a bathroom. There's a bathtub. They find the bathroom mirror and Helen takes it off. Now, the only reason this scene works is because it was set up before in Helen's apartment when she took the mirror off of her wall. Now, if she had gone into that apartment complex and just goes, oh, cool, and just lifted it off, we'd be like, how the fuck did she know that? But she knew because it was set up. So she decides, I'm going to climb in and take a look. She's got her camera with her and Bernadette's like, no, we're not doing this. She's like, I just want to see. Like Helen just has no fear. I just really like her. So she climbs into the wall and she sees a mural of the Candyman and finds a stash of candy with kind of razor blades in them. She's just like, okay. And she's basically just taking photos of everything. There's graffiti everywhere. She's taking photos of everything. And just to add on to what you said, I think the reason we didn't have scenes of them writing the thesis is because they were researching it. So they had to get all their research together in order to actually write the paper. I think that's why we didn't see scenes of them doing it.
Right. Yeah, I'll listen. I really like that when Helen and Bernadette go into the projects, the hat is picked up from off the ground of Helen removing the mirror from the bathroom, going through the wall, and finding the candy and the razor blades on the ground. I thought that was really, really cool. But like you just said, that wouldn't have worked as well as it did if the writer didn't set it up in the first place.
Yeah, exactly. So as Helen and Bernadette are leaving, because this I thought was funny, Helen pokes her head out of the hole where Bernadette is, scaring the shit out of Bernadette. She's like, oh, I have to go get more film. We'll come back. And Bernadette's like, we are not fucking coming back. We're leaving and we're never returning. And Helen's like, all right, okay, fine, let's go. So as they're leaving, a resident emerges in the hallway and asks, like, what the hell are they doing? Like, why are you here? And Helen says, you know, can we speak to you? And she goes, is it about the woman that died? She goes, yeah. So they go into her apartment and she's got this little cute baby. And there's a point to that, to why I'm bringing that up. So the resident explains that she heard the screams of the woman that died and she's terrified that he'll come back because they're never going to catch him, Candyman. So again, it pushes the story forward. We've met the woman who we will meet again. We've met the baby who is like, you wouldn't think is an integral part, but it is. The baby is an integral part. So what did you think?
Yeah, look, I really, really like that this screenplay writer is covering his bases by laying hands on the ground first with the mirror that Bernadette opened up in her own house, then in the projects that they're in right now. And they introduced this woman that lives in the projects, and they introduced his baby also, which is really cute, incidentally. And the way that the writer pays that off, I really, really enjoyed. And it's one of my favorite scenes of the whole movie because it's just so bonkers crazy that I kind of like it.
So Helen is at dinner, and she's at dinner with all these high society white people that are just terrible. Oh, they're just all horrible. They just think their shit don't stink. And she's sitting there, and you can tell she doesn't want to be there. She's not a part of it. She hates these people. But one of the guys at the table, he starts telling her the legend of Candyman, and that the legend first appeared in 1890. Candyman was the son of a slave. His father ended up making a fortune, and Candyman was sent to the finest schools and had a talent as an artist, as a painter. And so Candyman was commissioned by a landowner to paint a portrait of his daughter. They ended up falling in love and she became pregnant. The father of the girl hired people to hunt down Candyman, and they chased him all the way to Cabrini Green, where they sawed off his right hand. Then they smashed nearby beehives and smeared the honeycomb all over him, and Candyman was stung to death. They burned his body, then scattered his ashes over Cabrini Green. Great scene. Moves the story. We learn backstory, but it's kind of exposition backstory, but it wasn't told it was told in a way that, because the guy that's telling her is, because she's saying, oh, I'm doing a paper on Candyman. He's like, oh, I know about Candyman. And then he starts telling the story. Again, there's no wasted scenes. This is all information we need to know.
This is also one of my favorite scenes in the movie because, as Dean just said, good exposition is exposition that you set up or you lead up to. And the guy that she is sitting across from is basically like a high society wig at the college that she's supposed to be at. And the way that the writer leads into explaining the backstory to the audience is by saying, oh, I wrote a paper about Candyman 10 years ago, so I'm qualified to tell you the story, and here it is. I absolutely love the story. I thought that was the most disturbing, chilling thing I've heard in quite some while, although I've seen this movie before. Every time I see it, that scene sort of pulls me back and says, oh, wow, that's absolutely horrifying, but awesome. But the thing that I loved about the scene was the direction, first of all. She's smoking again. Yes. I love it.
Yes.
But the thing that I love about it is that at a point, while the guy sitting across from Helen is telling the story, the director pans slowly into Helen's face, and the camera goes slow, 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 until you just look at her, you just see the cigarette and her face. And it's such a good I love that shot for some fucked up reason. It's just so good. The whole scene is great, but the shot just sells it for me 100%.
I think it's in Candyman 2 or 3 where they actually shoot the backstory of Candyman, and they spend a little bit of time on it. So you've got Tony Todd in the 1800s, which I thought was great because the first time I watched this, I was hoping that it would go, you know how sometimes it goes back and it shows it, but it was just him talking, which was fine. But in the second or third one, if you want to get more of a gauge of Candyman's backstory and they give him a name so they don't call him Candyman, I would advise checking them out. Not as good as the original Candyman, but still good. It explores the story a little bit more. So anyway, Helen is back at Cabrini Green. Of course she is. And there's a huge pyre ready for a bonfire outside the apartment complex, which is a setup. And she bumps into a young boy, and he tells her a story of a kid that Candyman killed in a public bathroom. So she says, "Look, can you show me where this bathroom is?" And it's on the complex. It's about, I don't know, I don't know how far it is. It's on the complex, but it's a public bathroom. And she tells him to wait outside. She goes to investigate. And this bathroom is gross. There's like shit smeared on the walls. There's graffiti. Like she opens one of the toilet bowls and there's bees in there. Like it's just gross. But then she turns around and is cornered by several thugs. One is in a long trench coat with, he's holding a hook. And you're just standing there like, Helen, babe, what are you doing? So she's like, oh, people know I'm here. You can't do anything. And they're just like, these kinds of people, they don't care. They don't care who you are. Like they've cornered you. And I'm like, oh, God. The first time I saw this, I'm like, oh, this is not going to end well. But all they end up doing is the guy in the trench coat claims he's Candyman and he hits her over the head with the hook. And that's it. That's literally, not that I wanted her to get into more trouble, but I just thought, what is the point of him hitting her over the head and then leaving? Like he didn't even rob her, really. So I don't know, but I liked it because again, it pushed the story forward.
The bathroom scene reminded me of something I wanted to bring up earlier in this podcast. The production design really, really stuck out to me, especially all the stuff in the ghetto, because there's graffiti everywhere, and like Dean just said, the bathroom fucking reeks of shit and just a disaster. And when Helen takes her foot and she lifts up the bathroom toilet seat and you see the bees. I don't like bees, guys. So that was like a whole point of pressure for me throughout this whole movie. But I completely agree with Dean. Like if the writer wanted to put Helen in more peril, he could have had the thugs try and like assault Helen and do something awful there, or indicate that something awful was did happen. But having the guy holding a hook and bashing Helen over the head with it really kind of fell flat to me, just a little bit, because like Dean, I thought that the writer could have done something different with that.
So now we're at the police station, and Helen picks the guy from a lineup. And the police say that he's the one who killed the woman and the kid in the bathroom, but they had no witnesses to arrest him. But I guess now they do because she pointed him out. And that's it. That's a short scene.
Yeah, I mean, that scene didn't kind of work for me because I thought the scene in the bathroom needed more to it. It needed a little bit more sense because, like I just said, the guy with the hook hitting Helen over the head. I was like, okay, you could have taken this out of the script, and you could take out the scene that Gene just talked about in the jail out. Those I thought could have been struck out.
Yeah, I agree. So now Helen is heading to her car in a parking lot, and she starts hearing her name. And it is the one and only Tony Todd, because nobody has a voice like Tony Todd. And she turns around, she sees a man who says, "Helen, I came for you." And obviously this is Candyman. This is actually Candyman. And then he says, "You were not content with my stories, so I was obliged to come, be my victim." And this is the first time we see him. Now, interestingly enough, when he talks to Helen, I don't know if it's all the time, but a lot of the time it's telepathy. He actually doesn't move his mouth. He's just standing there with his hands behind his back, just telepathically talking to her. But I liked it. It was the first time we see Candyman, and he's basically said what he wants. I've come for you. you didn't believe my stories, and so I've come basically to kill you. So he's just laid it out on the table. I'm not going to stalk you. I've literally come to kill you. He's just said it. So I thought it was great.
Yeah, the first time that we see the great actor Tony Todd as Candyman, and this is one of his defining roles to me, it's really striking because, like Dean just said, he wastes no fucking time. He he says it right away. I've come to kill you because you didn't believe in my stories. I don't know how I feel about the telepathy thing. I would have much rather have him speak to her directly rather than the telepathy thing, but that's just a personal choice for me. But again, seeing Candyman at this point in the film, I thought was really effective, and the reason why I thought it was effective was because the writer spent so much time building up the myth of Candyman
Yeah.
and the expectation of Candyman. So when you finally see him, you're like, "Oh shit, this is the guy that we've been leading up to," which I thought was really well done by the writer, and that wouldn't have worked if he didn't build up to the reveal of Candyman.
And it's funny because the movie's called Candyman, but Tony Todd only shows up like near the end of the movie, which is great. I thought that was a great tactic that they used because, like you said, it built him up. It built his persona up. So so we're with her in a parking lot, and Tony Todd has just said, or Candyman has just said that, and then we cut to Helen wakes up in a pool of blood on the floor, and you're sitting there like, what the fuck happened? Was there a scene cut? Why is she there? She was just in a parking lot. And she's hearing screams from the other room. And she opens the door and she sees there's a dog's head on the floor with a butcher's knife, and she picks it up. I don't know why she picks it up, maybe because she hears screaming, I don't know, but I'm screaming at the television going, do not pick the knife up. What are you doing? So she walks into the living room and she sees it's the woman she spoke to at the Cabrini Green apartment, and she's back there in this woman's apartment. No idea how she got there. The woman is screaming, "Where's my baby? Where's my baby?" Because in the crib, there's blood everywhere and her baby's not there. And she thinks Helen did it. She jumps on Helen, and Helen's like, has no fucking idea what's going on. The cops burst in and just arrest Helen because Helen was holding the butcher knife. So they obviously thought, oh, well, this is the perpetrator. What did you think about that very jarring scene?
This scene has always been one that has bothered me since I was a kid. Not because of the violence, but because of how sudden and how abrupt it is. Because we have Candyman and Helen on the street, and then we cut to Helen in the apartment of where she met that woman with her baby. And like you, I don't understand why Helen picked up the goddamn butcher knife. I don't understand why she didn't walk to the place where the noise was I didn't understand why she didn't walk to the living room where the woman was, and if she would have done that, she wouldn't have gotten arrested. So her picking up the butcher's knife really felt like, to me, like the writer needed Helen to go where she's going to go, and the only way that he could justify that was to make a confrontation with Helen and the other woman by the crib, which is totally justifiable.
Yeah.
But also, this is just a really uncomfortable scene because Helen is drenched in blood. You see the dog's head on the floor.
Yeah.
It's really uncomfortable, specifically if you haven't seen this movie before.
Yeah. We're at, Helen's at the police station, and she's getting strip searched and is told she's under arrest. So the woman said, the woman that lives in the apartment, her testimony was she returned home to see her dog's head was cut with a meat cleaver, not a butcher's knife, it's a meat cleaver. And then Helen tried to attack her with it. And Helen is sitting there going, that's not what that's not what happened, right? But I'm so sick of, look, this movie is written great, but when you write law enforcement, I don't know why they're always written in a way where you sit there, you're like, that would never happen. Like, this would never happen. They're not listening to her side of the story. at all. That would never happen. She has to give her testimony about what happened. So they're not listening. They're telling her to shut up, listen to what they have to say. And I'm sitting there like getting angry. So they're just more inept police. They don't know how to do their job. And they're asking Helen where the baby is. And Helen has no clue. She's like, I don't know where the baby is. I don't know what you're talking about. But they think she took the kid. But they have no evidence. They have nothing. They have a testimony that when the woman came home, her dog's head was cut, and that's it. She didn't see Helen do anything. So why is Helen under arrest? There's no witnesses. She came home. Helen was in her apartment. The end. Helen is like, I don't know where I am. I don't know what's going on. They're not listening to her. This scene shut me up the wall. This is not correct. This would not happen. I don't care if this is a horror movie. This is annoying.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I mean, I could fix it right now if you want. I would actually cut to Helen and Candyman on the street, wake up Helen, or show Helen waking up on the in the floor of the apartment, picking up the cleaver, doing all the damage, and then having the black girl walk in and to see Helen do all this shit or in the act of it. That would fix
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But
No,
I
it
do, but I do agree with you that police in horror movies and police in a lot of movies really are written really dumbly and really stupidly.
Yeah.
And like Dean said, real police don't act like that. Before real police can charge you with anything, they have to get these things called statement from the two involved parties, and
Yeah.
they have to get evidence to
Yeah.
put someone away.
Yeah.
So what they did to Helen in this movie is completely improper is completely improper and completely wouldn't work because real police work isn't done like that. So, like you, this scene really annoyed me as well.
So now we're with Helen and she's at home. She's been released on bail. And she's looking through the photos she took at Cabrini Green. And she sees one she took of herself in a dirty mirror and sees Candyman standing behind her in the mirror. So she freaks out and she goes into her bathroom and she's looking in the mirror and Candyman's arm reaches out of the mirror trying to grab her. A little bit of trivia about that scene. The director didn't tell Virginia Madsen, who plays Helen, that was going to happen because he wanted to get her actual reaction. Do you know what? I do feel sorry for actors because some directors, when they film horror movies, they actually don't tell the actor that something's going to jump out at them to get their real reaction. That would, as an actor, stay in the back of my mind that something's going to happen that the director is not telling me about. They all do it, which I think is great because, like, why not? It's not that they can't act, but why the fuck not? But anyway, after the hand comes out, she runs into the hallway. He's standing there. She runs into the kitchen. He's standing there. And he says he has the child and she has to come with him or the child would die. He wants her and then he'll release the child. So her friend Bernadette is knocking on the door. She comes over, she enters, and basically Candyman fucking kills her. And then Helen's husband walks in to see Helen on the floor holding a bloody knife and Bernadette's body in front of her. So that's that scene. What do you think?
Yeah, look, as far as actors being not told stuff on horror movies by the directors, that would really piss me off as an actor too. But I think that really started with Alfred Hitchcock's film Psycho, when he didn't tell Janet Leigh that he was gonna splash her with a bucket of water to get her to scream so effectively in the third act of that film.
Yeah.
But as far as Helen being set up as a murderer again, but this time killing her best friend Bernadette, that really pissed me off because it's the second time it happened. So I'm like, God damn it! The writer who wrote this film started off so well, but these two instances of him putting Helen in impossible situations and pushing her forward to possibly look crazy as we move forward through the rest of this film really pisses me off because I think that there's a better way that you can do this. And moving to another point that you said at the beginning of our review
Yeah.
or our discussion, I don't really think the husband is really necessary in this movie because he hasn't really been in that much of it. He was in the beginning
No.
and a couple scenes here and there. So
Yeah.
as we're talking about this film, I really think that you really had a great point. His storyline really doesn't need to be there.
No, I mean it doesn't take away from the movie. I just feel like it doesn't need to be there. But the reason why these random things are happening is because Candyman is perpetuating them in order to get her to come to him. Like he wants to take away everything that she holds dear. Her freedom, her husband, everything, her best friend. He's taking away everything she loves in order for her to just come to breaking point because she has to come to him. That's why that's happening. So I don't know any other way that you could do that. He's just taking away everything that she loves. But what really pissed me off was the next scene. The police arrest her. They take her to the psych ward and strap her to a bed. What the fuck? Why? Is that what they do in America with someone that kills someone? They literally strap their ankles and their hands to a bed? Why?
No, that's not what happens. First of all, you need a doctor to diagnose Helen first as clinically insane or clinically unstable before you can send somebody to a sanatorium or a asylum and strapped into a bed.
Yeah.
So again, the police are made to look completely incompetent in this movie, and that really pisses me off. That really pisses me off as someone who enjoys procedurals.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this is not how it works, guys.
Yeah, I know. I know. The next morning, she's still strapped down, and they take her to see a shrink, and she's strapped to the fucking chair. And she says, because the shrink just doesn't believe what she's saying, like he's just a bit of a dick. And she says she can prove she didn't kill her friend. And she turns to the mirror in the room and says Candyman 5 times. And she waits. And at first nothing happens. And then Candyman basically guts the shrink from behind, then unties Helen, and she escapes from the hospital.
Yeah, that scene was creepy. That's all I'll say about that.
So Helen returns home. Now, she's been in the hospital for a month. Helen returns home to find her husband shacked up with one of his students, and they're just repainting the place and they're moving furniture. And I'm just like, what the fuck? It's been 4 weeks. It's not like it's been 10 years. It's been 4 weeks, and you're just like, this guy's a dick. He's an absolute fucking dick. And she's standing there like, she's getting angry, but she's curbing it like Virginia Madsen. She's such a good actress. And she's like, go ahead, call the police, call the hospital, call anyone you want. But they're so scared because they think she's a nut job that they just don't dare go to the phone. So anyway, she ends up leaving the apartment because what can she do? Her things are gone. There's nothing there. So she ends up just leaving, and they end up calling the police. But that's that scene.
They end up calling the police? How fucked up is that?
I know. But her husband's
secondly,
a dick.
I just have one more thing to say about this scene. That's it. Fuck that guy.
Fuck that guy. So Helen goes back to Cabrini Green, searching for Candyman, because again, this is what Candyman wanted. For her to have absolutely nothing else but him. This is what I find funny. She finds Candyman asleep. Isn't he like not real? Like why does he need sleep? I don't understand. He's like, yeah.
Isn't he dead?
Well, yeah, he's dead. He's like I don't know. That was weird. So he wakes up and she says, I'm here to save the child. Me for him. Candyman picks her up, lays her down, then bees start to appear everywhere, on her and on him, even in his mouth. And she's being stung so much that she just passes out. So that's that scene.
Yeah, for me that was really uncomfortable because I have a fear of yellow jackets and bees. So I'm like, this is not and how he just tries to kind of kiss her, like it's really disturbing.
Quite disturbing, yes.
Disgusting.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't, again, like I just said, I don't know why he's sleeping. dead people shouldn't have to sleep because they're already dead.
Yeah, believe me, when I'm dead, I do not want to fucking go to sleep. Like, honestly, enough with sleeping. So Helen wakes up a little bit later on and she's alone and she sees writing on the walls and it says, "It was always you, Helen." She sees another mural and realizes he wants her because she reminds him of his lost love. So there we have the motivation on why he's so stuck on her. And so she starts hearing the baby crying in the pyre from outside, the one that the bonfire's at. She starts hearing the baby crying from within the fire. And so she runs outside and she's searching for the baby and she crawls right into the middle of the pyre and finds the baby. She grabs the baby, but meanwhile, people are coming out of the apartments ready to start the bonfire. And you're just like, oh no. Candyman appears within the pyre with them and he won't let the baby go. He won't let her and the baby go. And she's like, "Oh no, you said that we would save the baby." And he's basically like, "Well, I fucking lied." He didn't say that, but he's like, "No, well, I don't care about a baby. I care about you." So Helen grabs a piece of wood because they've already started throwing gasoline and torching it. So she grabs a piece of wood that's on fire and she plunges it into his chest. And he starts screaming. I don't know. Again, he's dead. I don't know why he's in pain. So, but maybe because he's in the mortal world, so he has to abide by mortal rules. I don't know. That's just my brain kicking in. So she starts crawling out of the fire because she needs to die in order for them to be together because he's dead. And what would you do to the person you loved? Let's just burn them alive. That's the best way to kill someone that you love. Let's burn them alive and then we'll be together for evers and evers. So anyway, she crawls out with the baby. She's on fire. She's crawling out with the baby. The baby's not on fire, but she's crawling out and the mother of the baby is standing there and like approaches. Helen is all burnt. She's crawling out. The baby is okay. And she pushes the baby forward towards the mother and the mother picks up the baby. Candyman and Helen both burn to death. And this is one of the movies. This is one of the horror movies where the writer actually kills off the protagonist, which is interesting because that doesn't often happen. But even though I liked Helen and I didn't want her to die, I felt like, it was good. I didn't mind it.
One of the main reasons why I like this movie so much is because Helen dies at the end. I really, really enjoy when writers...
Of course it is. Sicko?
No, I'm not a sicko. I really, really enjoy when writers take that risk of killing their protagonists and give them a heroic, noble death like the writer did with Helen crawling out of the pyre and seeing her body on fire and her taking her last acts of life to return the baby back to the girl from the apartment complexes. I thought that was great.
So the next scene is we're at Helen's funeral, right, a cemetery. And there's like 3 people there. There's her husband. Her husband's shacked up, whoever the fuck she is. And like, I think like one other person. Like there's nobody there. And I'm like, that's so strange that this woman who, obviously went to university, wouldn't she have friends? Wouldn't she have more people at her funeral? Because she wasn't set up as a bad guy. She was set up as a really great person. So it just blows my mind that nobody was at her funeral. But then, and I love this, it always brings a tear to my eye. Her husband, as the casket is getting lowered into the ground, the husband turns and there's a sea of people coming towards him or Helen. And it's all the people from the projects from Cabrini Green, and there's hundreds of them. And it's led by the mother holding the baby, and they've come to pay their respects. And I think that is a beautiful, beautiful scene. And so what did you think? It was beautiful.
I really, really love this scene. And the woman that the stupid husband is with is her college student from his class at the beginning of the movie. So that's who that fucking...
No, I know. I just didn't know what her name was. She's not important enough to be given a name.
Yeah, no, but I no, but also like you, when husband turns around and you see all the people from from the projects and from that building that she walked into, coming towards the funeral procession to pay the respects to Helen, that was just heart touching. That got me where I live. But also, I kind of like that the writer goes into the casket for a split second. I thought that was a really cool shot. He does it for a split second, but it's really cool that you kind of see Helen lying in the casket there. Yeah, but also that scene was great, except for the fact that it wasn't really set up that Helen didn't have that many friends. So maybe that's why her idiot husband, the dumb bitch that he was with, and that idiot that told us the Candyman story was there. She should have had more friends, or I feel that it should have been established that she had more friends while in college or whatever. So
Yeah,
I thought that could
yeah.
have been done better. But other than that, the final scene was really good.
The last scene of the movie, Helen's husband is at home and he's in the bathroom and he's crying. And he's remembering all the good times that he had with Helen, all the times they laughed together, they cooked together. Meanwhile, you hear his college student girlfriend going, "Hey, I'm just going to cook dinner. Do you want anything?" And he wants nothing to do with her. She's irritating him now because he's remembering, "Oh shit, what have I done? What have I given up?" Because just to the guys out there, that's what happens when you follow your dick. You get fucked because the novelty wears off and you go, "Oh shit, what have I done? I've ruined a good thing because I wanted to have my slice of pie," which is exactly what he was emotionally going through. So he's realized he made a mistake, but it's too late now. And then the lights start flickering on and off. And then the lights go completely off and Helen appears and she's all fucking burnt. And he's just like, "What the fuck?" And she fucking kills him. She fucking kills him dead. And then the girl knocks on the bathroom door, pushes the door open and sees him like fucking filleted. There's fucking blood everywhere and she starts screaming. The last shot, it's not a scene. The last shot of the movie is someone at Cabrini Green has painted a mural because when Helen went into the Cabrini Green, there are murals everywhere of Candyman. So someone has painted a mural of Helen in flames rising up to heaven. And I thought that was beautiful and it showed respect from the residents of Cabrini Green. And that's the end of the movie.
Yeah, I love the final end sequence of this movie when the lights start flickering in the bathroom and Helen comes in all burnt and fucks up her husband. I think it's really great. And like Dean says, this movie teaches you a lesson, folks. Follow your heart, not your dick.
Correct.
But yeah, but also the final shot of the movie being someone in the projects painted a picture of Helen on fire being raised up to heaven. I thought was fantastic.
Trivia.
Go ahead.
Okay, so the bees in this movie were bred specifically for the film. They needed to make sure that the bees were only 12 hours old, so they looked mature, yet their stinger wouldn't do any real damage.
Okay, that makes me a little concerned that they were real bees, but okay.
They were real. They were all real bees. This is why I like old school movies. There's no CG bullshit. If you're an actor, you have to fucking act. Okay? Not to a green ball bouncing up and down. "Oh, look, it's a fucking dinosaur." No, you have to do your job. They were all. And Virginia Madsen, she was actually covered in bees. That scene, she was covered in bees. And she's allergic to bees. And the director was like, "No, you'll be fine. The bee wrangler's here. We've got a shot of adrenaline for you. No, it's really fine." And she did it. Because that's what actors did in the 90s, my friends. They fucking did it. They had no fear. Now, these fucking punsy actors wouldn't do shit. They'd be like, "I'll get my stunt double to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't want to mess my hair." Sorry. That's not all actors. That's just, Is it true or is it not true?
I was about to say, Dean is right, except for one actor in the world that doesn't let his stunt double do a fucking thing.
Well, wait, can I guess? Can I guess?
Can I guess who it is? Guess.
Is it Tom Cruise?
It's Tom.
Yes.
Because that guy,
Yeah, he does his own stunts. I don't know.
that man, God bless his heart, he really goes above and beyond for the audience. But you're right, actors in the 90s, they really went for it because, like Dean just said, they didn't have like a fake plastic ball saying to the director, "Look here, there's bees here." No, none of that shit. You want bees? Let's do it for real.
Yeah, exactly. So Tony Todd said that he was stung 26 times during filming. Lucky he's not allergic. And
Oh
he
my
also Tony Todd also negotiated a bonus of $1,000 for every time he got stung by a bee. Good on him.
Good man.
If he was gonna do it with real bees, fucking negotiate the shit out of it. Had Virginia Madsen, who played Helen, been unavailable, the role of Helen would have gone to the unknown actress Sandra Bullock.
No way.
She would have
No.
done good. She would have done good.
No, but better than Virginia? No way.
Not better, but she would have done great. Eddie Murphy was considered for Candyman, but was too short at 5'9" because Tony Todd is 6'5".
There is nobody else that could play Candyman except Tony Todd. Eddie Murphy, get the fuck out of here with that.
Yeah. Oh, and the scene where Tony Todd had all the bees in his mouth, he had bees in his mouth. That was 100% real.
Oh.
He did it.
You know what? God bless him.
God bless him, huh? The last piece of trivia. So the backstory for Candyman, the really cool slave got killed, blah, blah, blah. Tony Todd actually came up with that. He came up with his own character's backstory because Candyman didn't have a backstory in the original movie, but he came up with it during rehearsals with Virginia Madsen. So that was his idea.
You know what? Good on him. And if I didn't look, I already respect Tony Todd a bunch because he's one of my favorite actors because that voice and his presence on screen and anything that he does is fantastic. But that is just giving more that and the fact that he had to deal with bees throughout this whole movie has given me a whole level of more respect for him.
Yes. So that's it. That's the end of my trivia, and that's all, folks. And if you want to email us, you can. You can email us at themixtapepod@aol.com. Anything you want. If you want us to review anything, compliments, complaints, anything, you can. Next week, we have probably the best movie known to man. We are reviewing Sharknado. So get in gear for that. Get excited for the best directed and written movie of our time, Sharknado. So, wrapping up the show, because this is how we always wrap up, podcast voice. If someone is kind enough to make you a mixtape, that must mean that they really love you. The Mixtape Podcast is a Balloonhead Productions presentation.